Okay, so we're going to get started. My name's Lexi Avery. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Fleishman Center for Career and Professional Development. I focus specifically on early engagement, so working with first years, sophomores, and transfers, and trying to get them engaged in the career development process and in our office early, so that one, they're confident in their career decisions as they move forward, and that they're prepared for whatever those steps are after graduation. So I'm really excited that we have parents and family members here today to hear from our students and how they've really utilized career services and have engaged in career development over their time here. So I'm going to start with just some introductions with the group. So we'll start with Jenny, but everybody can kind of be prepared to highlight your name, your year, where you're from, so your hometown, and what are your career interests or goals that you kind of have in mind right now? So we'll start with Jenny.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jenny, and I'm currently a sophomore. I'm from Queens, New York, and I'm studying psychology and minoring in health and wellness studies. And after graduating with my degree and going on to grad school, I hope to pursue a career in occupational therapy.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. We'll go to James next.
Hi, my name is James. I'm a junior mechanical engineering major. I minor in engineering sustainability and global studies. I'm from Merrick, New York, and my goal is to work in the aerospace industry one day.
Awesome. Hannah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah. I'm from Westchester, New York. I'm a senior political science student. I'm minoring in global studies, sociology. I'm also a Binghamton University scholar. And right now I'm applying for master's programs in international development. And after that, I want to go on to manage those projects and programs and eventually be like a government consultant, perhaps for like the UN or the USAID or something like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. Leanne.
Hi, I'm Leanne Cron, and I'm from Syosset, New York on Long Island. And I'm a graduate student, and I'm a part of the accelerated master's program for financial economics. So that's a 4+1 program. And my goal is to become a consultant for a renewable energy company when I grow up.
Thank you. And last but not least, Maya.
Hi, my name is Maya. I'm a junior. I'm from New York City. I'm double majoring in political science and human development with minors in Spanish and immigration studies. My career goals and interests, I would like to be a lawyer and preferably in the public service sector.
Awesome. So our students throughout this panel are really going to be highlighting their own experiences with career development and career services, because I think that's the most relatable for our incoming students and potential students. So when you think back to your first interactions with either career services or just career development as a whole, when did that happen? When did you first thinking about it? What was your first interaction? Let's start with Hannah for this one.
So my first interaction was first semester freshman year. I went to get my resume reviewed, and it was very sparse at the time, just with high school activities and things like that. But yeah, that was my first engagement with the Fleishman Center, and you guys helped me review my resume.
Awesome. Jenny.
So my first experience with like career exploration was through the Fleishman Center's Explore program. So what I really enjoyed about the program was that it was geared towards underclassmen. So I was a first semester freshman, and I just didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to get started in some way. So with the Explore program, it's a few weeks, one day a week, and it just every week they focus on a certain topic, whether it's resumes, LinkedIn profile, cover letters, and it just had us, it wasn't an in-depth crash course on everything. It was just allowed us to like explore the different professional tools that we would use that would eventually help me in my career. And then from there, I just really liked being in Fleischman and with everyone that was there. And they really encouraged me to pursue my own personal career development. And that's how I started.
Awesome. Leanne.
So I think my first experience was when I was a sophomore and I came into college undecided. And I was still undecided sophomore year and I felt behind and just like compared myself to other people who like automatically knew like this is what I want to do. So I went in and I made an appointment to just speak about that and kind of see like what their opinion on it was like with my specific interests and like just maybe decide my major with them. So during the appointment, they like, of course, like we spoke about everything that I liked, and I was interested in economics at the time as well. But they also made me feel like really okay that I wasn't decided yet, and that I like wasn't behind, and it's like my own journey to figure out what I want to do. And yeah, it was just like an overall positive experience. And then in the next semester, I claimed my major. Yeah.
Awesome. Maya.
So my first experience was freshman year. First semester, I had this really incredible professor who really wanted us to get involved. And this was in our Writing 111 course. He actually brought us to a behind the scenes tour of the job and internship fair. So basically being able to connect with employers without like the whole university there and taking a step back, I think gave me a lot of confidence. And from there, I decided to go get my resume checked, looked over, and used it to apply to a lot of on-campus positions.
Great. And last but not least, James.
Yeah, so my first interaction with career development was with the Fleishman Center, sort of as everybody had said. Freshman year, I had an appointment with Jordan Smith, who is a great career consultant, and I was really nervous for it. I thought that my resume was not good, and it wasn't, but Jordan helped me make it a lot better, and I think that that helped really contribute to me getting an internship after my freshman year, which was a great experience. So right from the Fleishman Center, I think that was one of the things that helped me the most.
Yeah. And I'll just ask this kind of as a one-off question. Did what you initially, for each of you, did what you initially think you wanted to pursue change at all throughout your time at Binghamton, or at least the direction that you thought? I know Hannah's shaking her head, yes. Hannah, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so going in, I knew I was going to be doing political science. I thought I was going to be a politician or something like that, basically for sure working in the government and legislating things. So I got an internship with the help of Fleishman Center at on Capitol Hill with Congressman Elliot Engel, who at the time still is chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. So I was working in his office. And I realized, I'm not so sure this is the path for me. It seems like there's a lot of hoops to jump through when you're trying to get these things done. So God bless people that do it. But I was like, I don't know if this is for me. That summer, I was accepted into the JFEW program. That's the Jewish Foundation for Education of Women, the Global Affairs Leadership Program. And after that, they helped me get an internship with the founding director of the UN Office of Partnerships this past summer. And so I was working with a lot of UN stuff, and I got to learn more about development, and that's how I kind of decided on my path. That's where it's going to be going.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else had a similar? I know some of you were pretty sure when you came in. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. What kind of off-campus and on-campus things are you involved in? And how do you think it connects or provides you an opportunity to either develop skill sets or is really connected directly to the field you're interested in? And we'll start with James for this one.
Yeah, I think that some of the, aside from the Fleischman Center and the help that they've given me, probably the next most important thing has been the organizations I've joined, and especially in engineering. I'm in the engineering fraternity, as well as being in some of the professional organizations. And those have helped me to get project experiences on my resume, directly to get interviews and to connect with alumni. So getting involved can be one of the greatest things you can do to help your career goals.
Good. Jenny?
So something I would like to highlight that I think is I didn't expect to end up doing research because I didn't think that was the field I was interested in. But I think something that the Fleischman has really taught me to see is that in every position, there are so many skills like that are transferable. Even if I want to be an occupational therapist, that doesn't really entail a lot of research, but I think being part of a research team and understanding what goes through and what goes into research and understanding how that happens will help me. And in addition, I'm currently a research in the Institute for Child Development, specifically in the Autism Spectrum Disorder Lab. And I think as an occupational therapist, I see transferable skills there because learning about autism and how it works and the research that goes behind it is so different from just reading an article versus like seeing the behind the scenes of how all that happens while learning more about psychology and learning more about just certain disorders that I might end up working with. So I think it's the ability to like gain those different skill sets and also meet new people while doing it. So I think that's something that would help me a lot. And it's just really interesting to learn more about the research and autism in general.
Yeah, cool. Maya?
So I think the most impactful campus involvement for me, I was living on the service floor in Hinman College, and that just really connected me to so many nonprofits in the area. As a group, we would volunteer at the Rescue Mission, which is a shelter for 30 men, and we make meals there. We hosted events there. Yeah, we did a lot of other projects with other organizations as well. So I think that really showed me all the different ways to get involved in particularly the nonprofit sector. And now I'm still involved as a student mentor. So that was definitely something I just kind of fell into for freshman year when a professor sent an email to HW majors saying, oh, this would be something that I think a lot of you'd be interested in. And I just signed up, and it was just a really wonderful experience that really informed where I want my career to go.
Yeah, good. Leanne?
My two big leadership positions on campus were being a teaching assistant for macroeconomics, like principles of macroeconomics, and being the treasurer for the Student Association Programming Board. And both positions had a lot of responsibility that of course, as in high school and even beginning of college, you're just kind of responsible for yourself and taking classes and things like that. But then I was in charge of teaching other people who are maybe my age or just other students at Binghamton University twice a week and 30 kids each class and making my own personalized plans, all of that. And then for being the treasurer for Student Association Programming Board, I had to work with all of the other people on the e-board and communicate with them and also be in charge of the budget for the campus events. And like Jenny was saying about the transferable skills, I definitely learned a lot of those. I really improved my time management skills due to taking classes while also doing both of those positions, organizational skills, communication skills. And I think the biggest thing I learned was really how to advocate for myself within such a busy environment, and when you're also responsible for other people and things like that, and just making sure the communication is really strong, because you can't let yourself fall into the background if you're not in the environment to thrive. So that was something that I learned.
Awesome. And Hannah?
So, sorry, the question is on or off campus activities, how they've been
Yeah. So what are you involved in on or off, and what are some skills that you feel like you've gained from those, or how do they connect to your career interests?
Yeah, so there is, of course, the JFBW program, and there we've had the opportunity to speak with ambassadors and diplomats, and we just gained a lot of professional development skills in diplomacy and networking. And also I was a part of the New England College Council and the Student Association. I was policy director in the Multicultural Affairs Office in the SA. And so that also gave me the opportunity to work with a lot of administration and basically see how the SA and administration could partner to achieve certain goals, and then what that really looked like in practice for the students. So those are the things that I've been involved in.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of you, what I've kind of heard across the board is kind of just being open to the opportunities that come up, right? So that idea of planned happenstance, planning for the unplanned, and really being open to whatever emails you get or whatever opportunities might come up, and the value that can come from those experiences across the board, I think is good for any student, but especially our students in their first or second year who are really trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, and getting past that and saying that there isn't a right thing, and just kind of diving in and having experience and figuring out from there. I have another question that kind of goes off of what you all were just talking about. A lot of students are saying, okay, all of these experiences are so great. It's so awesome that you found them. How did you find them? Right. So I know a couple of you had talked about emails that you've gotten, but what are other ways that you found out about clubs or organizations, or you found out about jobs or internships that you now know how valuable they were? But how, as a first year student or a sophomore, like, how did you know where to find those? I don't know. Does anyone feel like they have the answer to that? Leanne, want to start?
I don't think I have the answer, but I think especially as a freshman, I feel like maybe like starting your career might not be the topic that you speak about with your friends. But I think like at such a young age, that is your network, and that you should take advantage of that, because that's how I like learned about the student association programming board through somebody that I was friends with, because she was a part of it. And I think just like to bring up the topic and just like ask them like, what do you think I should do? What are you like looking into doing? Just because it can like, you could just find out so many things through your friends. Yeah.
Yeah. James, did you have?
Yeah, what I would say is it's sort of confusing your freshman year. You're not really sure how to go about that. And you see all these seniors have a bunch of experiences and you're not sure how they got those. I would say two things. I would say don't be afraid to talk to your professors and your peers in your classes. It was from a freshman year project that I learned about the professional fraternity. And from that, I learned about one of the projects I'm on. And from that, I got an interview. So it all kind of connects. And then the second thing I'd say is check those Beeline emails that come out almost every day, I think, with the schedule for the day, because from that, I can think of at least two clubs that I'm an e-board for, and I found out just from getting those emails and clicking those links. So it's very important.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else feel like they?
Yeah, I would just sorry.
Go ahead, Maya.
I would just say that yeah, it's like you just find out about things in different ways. Like you don't even, I feel like everything I found out about, like I didn't need to, like, for example, I was interning the summer at the DA's office in Manhattan. And the reason I like looked into it is because in constitutional law course I was in, one student brought up the fact he interned at his DA's office, and our professor was saying what a great opportunity those internships are. So I just like Googled it and looked into it. So I feel like there's just like always like going to be, yeah, like random things that seem to happen that lead you to a certain path. I also think if you want to learn more, definitely going in to see a career consultant if there's something that you are particularly interested in, so that they can like talk through all the options that are available.
Yeah, good. Anybody else? I know Hannah.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, make sure you just jump in and get involved in anything that seems remotely interesting. Even if you think you're going to be good at it or not, honestly, you might make friends with somebody that is just as bad at something as you, and you can have fun with that. But basically, all of these clubs can lead to opportunities by joining like the student government. I was able to get on this other board, and then somebody from the administration that was on that board ended up being my boss for something else. So it's really just a matter of saying yes and jumping into things, even if you don't think, it's right for you.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Thank you for that. We're going to kind of shift to another thing that I think is really important in connection to your career development, but students don't often see the connection, and that's your classes, so academics. So how do you feel like your classes have prepared you in relation to your career goals or skill sets you wanted to achieve? And is there a class in particular, or is there a faculty member who you feel like has really championed you and championed, your career goals moving forward? So we'll start with Maya on this one.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about Binghamton is like how hands-on everything's been. And I remember touring and I thought when they were talking about research and hands-on stuff, I thought that was really just for STEM majors. And I really found that as a political science and human development major, like that's definitely, I just had so many incredible opportunities. I think one of my favorite courses was a community engagement course, which was an English course. And we worked with the Tenement Museum in New York City. And what we did was we worked on their virtual archive. We kind of like discussed our family's immigrant stories, and we drafted our stories, reviewed them with our peers, and then we were actually published on like their website. So that was really fun experience. And I think for a professor, and well, that also connects with my career and my interest in immigration. I really love to explore the opportunity of being an immigration attorney. And in terms of a professor, the collegiate professor of him in college, just retired, Al Voss, was just someone who's such a mentor to me. I would go to him for like every recommendation, everything. He would just wanted to be so involved and wanted to know how we were doing in class and outside of class. I got to luckily take 2 courses with him. And having that connection with the professor so early made me really feel like I was in high school and like I could just like, and it gave me confidence to go up to other professors in my bigger courses.
Awesome. Hannah.
Yeah, so the first thing that came to my mind when you asked that question was my philanthropy and civil society class with Dr. David Campbell, who is still like my mentor today and is helping me out with a lot of different things. And in that class, it's like the Learning by Giving Foundation sponsors you with 10,000 real life dollars to donate to charities in the local area. And you have to learn about grant writing and nonprofit organizations. And that connects with my career goals because it really solidified my interest in doing something in the public service realm. And yeah, a lot of great opportunities stem from that, but that's the one thing I'd have to say.
Okay, Leanne.
So I'm a financial econ major, but the class that kind of made me interested in like being a part of like a renewable energy company or just like environmental economics was the class natural resource economics. And I didn't really know that you could connect economics and like the environment in such a way. So in that class, like you learn how to like analyze data and things like that. But it just showed me the option that you could do that. But also throughout my classes, like I'm more of a conceptual person and I think that's like my interest, but I also am learning a lot of technical skills, using like programs and also analyzing data. So I think it really helps me make me more like applicable to like so many different jobs and career paths. So that's also something that I wanted to challenge myself with, to like let the planned happenstance happen, which I'm still like looking forward to and see where I end up. Yeah.
Awesome. Jenny.
So coming into college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I came in undeclared like so many other like freshmen. And I just wanted to, the biggest thing my advisor advised me to do was to take courses that genuinely interested me and might fulfill a gen ed. So I ended up taking developmental psychology because I took psychology in high school and I was like, okay, I kind of like this. I'm interested in more. And I think just being in the class and learning about more in depth what I learned in high school and seeing how passionate my professor, I took it with Professor Merriweather, and seeing how passionate she was about the subject. And in class, she would kind of like go off topic a little and talk about her own research or talk about her personal experiences. And you can really tell, I see this in all my professors of how passionate they are on the subject. But I think because I was also interested in psychology, it just made it so much more meaningful. And when she talked about her research, it made me, you kind of know when you're interested in something, because I would go out of my way to look up her research and like see and just want to learn more. And I think it's really the way the professors at Binghamton teach and how open they are to, like, at the end of class, she'd have a long line of people asking her questions and she will always answer everyone. And it's just how passionate she was about the topic kind of like transferred onto me. It made me more passionate. And then now I'm a psychology major and I hope to take more classes with her soon. So
yeah, awesome. James.
Yeah, so being an engineering major, I think that one of the stereotypes is that it's hard to connect with professors because typically you're in larger classes in your early years, uh, and just because there's a lot of kids, it's hard to connect. But I'd say that some of the classes that were most influential were my freshman design classes, which every engineering freshman takes. And in those classes, you're able to learn programs and get project experience that are really going to set you apart from other students when it comes to applying to internships. Because in a lot of other schools, you don't start projects until maybe the end of your sophomore year. But at Binghamton, you start them right from the beginning. And one professor is Professor Gieskis, who runs the EDD department. And he's been really great and really helped me become an undergraduate course assistant for one of those design classes, and he helps students with their projects. He helps them with their career goals. So he's a great resource.
Yeah, I love that, weaved throughout that question was a faculty member who has really championed your goals or you've really, connected and resonated with, which I think is so important. And that's why we do the, Career Champions program is we celebrate faculty and staff that have a part in students' career development because the Fleishman Center can't do it alone, right? You're more likely to get those resources and have those conversations with a faculty member. So really leaning into that, I think is really interesting and something that as a first year student they may be nervous to do. So it was good to hear from your experience. I want to stop for a second and just reiterate if there are any questions from anyone on the session with us today, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll weave them into the conversation. I know they've all hit on different programs or different opportunities, and I'm sure they'd be willing to elaborate more on that. So feel free to use the chat. I'm going to switch to something that's a little bit more tangible and something that we tell students that they need to do early to get ready. And I know you're all smiling because you probably know what that is. When did you start working on your resume? So I think a lot of students come in and they have a resume, but it's maybe not a college resume, right? It doesn't have the same maybe standards or expectations. So when did you start working on it and kind of what was that process like for you as you were developing it and how often do you still look at it and work on it? I'm going to start with James on this one.
Yeah, I definitely remember back in freshman years when I started working on it, and I thought mine was great because it's what I used to apply to colleges, and I got into Binghamton, so it must be a great resume. And then I went to a resume night event with Jordan Smith and Laura O'Neill, and they looked over my resume and they were very encouraging in telling me that some of the experiences I had were great, but that my formatting and the way I wrote it could use some help. And they didn't just tell me it needed help, they then told me what to do. And through booking appointments, I was able to really get it up to that standard. Yeah.
Good. Leanne.
I think I started working like actively on my resume sophomore year, and I definitely had trouble articulating what my experience is, like how it has made me like a better professional being, just because I had maybe like babysat at that point and like worked at a summer camp. But then through the process of bettering it and with the help of Fleishman Center, I learned that any experience is a positive experience and can make you like a better person and better professionally. Like we were talking about before, like every experience has transferable skills that you gain from it. So I learned that everything is valuable and that we shouldn't put ourselves down, especially as a freshman. Like it's to be expected that you don't have experience. But it also motivated me like to get more involved on campus and to add some experience onto my resume. But now I like, unfortunately, I guess, look at my resume like almost every day, but also I'm a graduate student, so I'm like applying to jobs. So I need to be very on top of it, but it's definitely come a long way. So I'm happy to say that.
Yeah, good. Maya.
So I started working on my resume November of freshman year. I remember I went to Fleishman. Yeah, it was definitely really intimidating at first because I was really nervous that they'd be like, oh, you don't like I don't have like work experience. But I think as everyone has said, like, any experience is valuable experience. And yeah, now I do look at my resume a lot. I'm just starting to start brainstorming for summer internships. So I've been trying to use VMock a lot. I really like VMock. It's this great resource where you can actually upload your resume, and the system provides like line by line feedback on formatting, on different verbs you could be using. So I definitely really recommend that. And additionally, I feel like the reason to really look at your resume so much throughout undergrad is because I feel like students are involved in so many ways. Like there's so many clubs you can write on your resumes that changes every year, every semester. There's so many like winter break jobs, summer break jobs that people have experiences with. So it's definitely something I really recommend always looking at when you can.
Yeah. Jenny.
So the first time my first resume, I made it junior year of high school for a program. And something I learned throughout, like looking at my resume, editing it, is that it's kind of like a never ending project about yourself. Cause I feel like the first time you make it, I made it in high school and I was like, okay, this is it, I'm done. Like, this is perfect. But something that's really great about a resume is that it kind of grows with you with every new experience that you have. You kind of tweak it a little bit, and that including the format, and you start taking things off as you gain that new experience. And it just kind of, once you look back at it, like if you keep your first resume and then you look at your most recent resume, you kind of see the growth that you've throughout college, and you see all the experiences you've gained. I think it's a really good way to kind of just keep track of yourself and keep track of your accomplishments and experiences. So I think that's something I learned while tweaking my resume. And
Yeah, good. Hannah.
Yeah, so as I said before, I started working on it first semester freshman year. I had those high school experiences, but also because I had jumped straight into just getting involved in clubs on campus, I had some of those I could start off with. But I look at it often, especially now, because I'm also like pursuing post-grad studies and applying to places actively. I'm looking at it more often than probably usual. But throughout tweaking it, well, more than tweaking it, I feel like I'm revamping it every time I have an appointment with the Fleishman Center. You really see how much you can extrapolate from each experience. Like when I go to see you guys, sometimes you're like, well, we can add this skill, that skill, that skill. I hadn't even thought of those transferable skills, as we were talking about, that you gain from each of these experiences.
I love that. And I think you've all hit on a really important part in that the resume development is never over, right? And so, when you have a resume coming in as a first year student, it is good. You have good experience on there, but how do we make it relevant to where you're at now and where you're wanting to go, right? And so constantly editing, and that's why, Hannah pointed out, every time somebody looks at it, there's something else, right? Because it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving document. And so I think hearing from all of them starting really early is important so that you have time to make those edits. I think a resume can also be used to find gaps in your experience, right? Maybe you have a lot of some kind of experience and not a lot of something else. So that can help kind of pave the path in some ways. And I'm sure that you've all experienced that as well. I want to go, since we went really, really granular, I want to go a little bit bigger picture now. And what do you think is a misconception about career services from the student perspective? I think at Binghamton, we're unique and we do have a lot of students who utilize our career center, but that is not the norm. So why do you think that is? What are some misconceptions about career services and engaging with an office like us? Maybe let's start with Leanne.
I think when I was younger, of course, I utilized the career center, but I was also thinking like, how could I could probably do this on my own, like figure it out on my own. Do I really need to go make an appointment with somebody to talk it out? But also like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I don't have anything to talk about with them. So I think I really didn't utilize it enough as an undergrad. So I feel like fortunate to be here as I guess a grad student. Yeah. And now I realize there's so much you can use it for. And there's so many resources that like now I know about that definitely would have helped me if I had known about it earlier. And I'm still like every time like I have a meeting with like Lexi, I learn new things that I can like help that I can use to help make me like a better like candidate for a job. But yeah, I think
Ooh, she must
for
have.
help.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you
so like
skipped a little bit. I was like, she's so enthusiastic.
oh sorry. Just like getting over like the I guess not like embarrassment or like fear, but the something of not being sure if like you should ask for help and if you like really need it. Because even if you're like so sure of what you want to do, talking about it with somebody like will help either way. So yeah, I think it's just like such a good thing to like get involved in early.
Good. Awesome. Hannah.
Yeah, so kind of going off of what Leanne just said, a misconception might be that you don't need to go to the Fleishman Center if you think you know what you're doing. And another misconception could be that don't go if you have no idea what you're doing. You need to have something to work with. When in fact, my first resume had like 3 bullet points and we were able to grow from that. So really, you could be at any stage of your academic, professional, career development. It doesn't matter. You can always use the Career Center services, if not to help you with something that you're working on, but to learn new opportunities, like Leanne was saying, and fill those gaps in your experience and stuff like that.
Yeah. Jenny?
So I think a really, not misconception, but maybe it's something that will prevent students from coming into the Career Center is the idea of intimidation. I think Leanne and Hannah touched upon this Leanne and Hannah touched on this, how you don't have to have it all figured out just because it's called the Career Center. You don't need to have your career figured out to go. You can go in with nothing, a blank slate, like I like doing this, but I don't know what to do with it. And we have so many different types of appointments, from job and internship search to major exploration to just it's not just resumes and cover letters. There's so much more to like financial planning and just graduate school planning. So there's just so many different topics and resources that we can cover that students might not realize, or maybe they're too scared to come in because they're scared of not knowing what to say. But I think the great thing about career consultants is that they're able to like start that conversation and have that conversation with students and just kind of guide them through everything. And one more misconception I think is that it's a career center is not like a one-stop shop. Like you don't just come one time and then feel bad if you keep coming in. Like, oh, I don't want to bombard the consultants. Like, no, I think from what I've learned is that we love seeing the same people again and again and being able to help them develop that resume from the first one to like 10 appointments later. And it's like a beautiful resume. I think it's the progression. So I think I hope freshmen aren't afraid to like come in multiple times or just come in that first time.
Yeah, I would say one of our favorite things is seeing a student in their first year and then being with them at graduation when they get their job offer, right? So, and being there throughout the whole process is like a consultant's dream. We would love that. So yeah, I think those are all good points from the 3 of you. Maya and James, do you have anything you want to add? Maybe start with Maya.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I remember when I was going to get my resume checked freshman year for the first time, and I was telling my mom, and she was like, Maya, like you just got here. Do you really need to be like doing that already? Like, and I think, and the misconception has to do with timing. Like, I don't think necessarily going to the career center means like you're one foot's out the door already when you get there. I think it's really, like everyone's been saying, like it's not just your career. It's, I think, really getting to know yourself and your interests, and having career consultants has really helped me with that.
Okay, James.
Hey, you guys all covered a lot of stuff, but I guess the one thing that I would say is, I guess sort of a misconception that you could have is that you come to the Fleishman Center, they help you with your resume, and then you cut the ties there, and then now it's your job to go find the job to apply to. But that's definitely not the case. Some of the best things that the Fleishman Center offers are the employer talks, where it's a little different now because of the virus, but definitely in the past and in the future, and even now online, Fleishman will host employers who come in and give a presentation, and then after that you can go speak to them, and then that'll get you one more foot in the door. So Fleischman helps you prepare for the job search. They help you with the job search, and then they help you take that next step to apply and how to interview and everything like that.
Yeah, I loved you all hit on some really important topics. And I think um, this phrase keeps popping in my head of we're more than just resumes, right? I think there's a big misconception that the Career Center only helps with resumes. So if I don't want to work on that right now, I don't need to go see them. And so I think for students as they're coming in, and that's why my job exists, right? Really trying to engage students early in their time at Binghamton and making sure that students understand that it's everything from helping you figure out what major is the right fit for you to what career may fit your interests or your strengths or your skills, to then working on your resume, getting involved on campus, helping with your interviewing, internship, job search, grad school search, right? And all these different programs and events in between to make sure by the time you graduate, you're confident and you're successful in whatever you want to pursue. That's ultimately our goal. So trying to get beyond this idea of I can wait until, the job search, or I can wait until I need a resume, is something that we're trying to debunk that myth constantly. So that's kind of a good segue to this next question of what sort of services or resources or even events, as James mentioned, do you feel like you've utilized the most and that have been the most impactful for you? And maybe I'll start with James because he mentioned different events and things like that. But anything related to services, resources, events would be good to cover.
Yeah, I think the big golden one is like the Fleischman Bible. It's the career guide, and that's probably the most useful resource just because it's so accessible. You could pick up a copy at the Fleischman Center, or you could find it online as a PDF, and it really runs through really how to get a job. There's a resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, interviewing. There's a lot of resources in that one packet, and I use that a lot freshman year to help me get my resume to the point where it's ready to go out and apply. And there's a lot more things, but I'll let other people cover those.
Good. Leanne?
Yeah, I use the career guide like still to this day, and I love it. But I was going to talk about job fairs and the employer checks that of course are going to be a little bit different now and are virtual, but hopefully like by next year they'll be back to normal. But they definitely helped me learn what I wanted from like in the future and from a company. I feel like Fleishman Center like helps you learn how to like sell yourself and like learn how to make sure you're the best candidate. But it's also important to like know what your preferences are because of course you want to be chosen, but you also like are able to choose as well. So yeah, I got really lucky. Well, I got an internship from making a connection at the job fair, so that was a great opportunity. And then also I learned like some values and like what I liked about the company through that, but also the employer check was such a great opportunity. I went into New York City and I got to visit like some pretty like high-end companies like Google and IBM, and I was just like in awe. But before I had kind of been going like day by day, like not really sure like what the goal is, but like no, I want to be like happy and successful. But it made me like be able to picture myself somewhere in the future, which really helped just like making me happy, but also like help motivate me to keep working harder and like not get like not like stumble and think like, oh, where I'm doing all this stuff, but like where is it leading me to? So it just showed me like the values that I want from a company and things like that.
Yeah, good. Hannah?
Yeah, so as James and Leanne said, those job and internship fairs are really, really useful. For example, I had applied to the US State Department for an internship several times. And after I go to the job and internship fair and learn more about the application process and like the things I was missing, I got an offer. And so that is an incredible resource. But what has been most useful to me, I think, are making those appointments to review a cover letter, grad application essays, and resumes. I feel like it's like a therapeutic session each time I go in, just kind of dishing out, here's everything I've ever done and everything I care about. And then Fleishman Center helps me actually make it coherent on paper. So that's what's been very useful to me. I average like these past couple of weeks with deadlines coming up, I've been averaging like 2 appointments a week, and it's been very useful.
Good. We're happy to help. Jenny.
So everyone mentioned really cool resources, and I want to like switch gears a little and mention like our online resources, because sometimes it's like the career consultants are amazing, but they're not available at like 10 p.m. when I want to do some like career exploration. So something really cool about that is like all the different resources we have. And I'll just highlight like one of them because we have so much. But I did freshman year, I did Focus 2, and this was still when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And Focus 2 is like kind of a personality test where you talk about what you like, what you enjoy. And at the end, it gives you a score and it gives you like what fields you're interested in and it gives you career options. So that was really, really helpful for me. And then something even better on top of that was that I was able to go into Fleishman and make an appointment with a professional staff to talk me through those options. And she really like broke down the Focus 2 assessment for me and let me know what my options were. And even if not career options, she talked to me about maybe what my strengths were and what fields I could apply that to. And then from there, I was able to do my own research and just narrow down my career choices into what I wanted to do. So I think that's something that's really helpful on top of a bunch of other resources that you can eventually bring into an appointment when you have time.
God, thank you. Maya.
I mentioned VMOC before, which is the software you can upload your resume to for line-by-line feedback. Additionally, Fleishman has a updated website this year, and they have a great section with all the career clusters, which are basically like groupings such as like arts and communication, government, nonprofit, and law. And students can actually follow certain career clusters to get updates. So they have blog posts about all the opportunities coming up in each career. There's a schedule of events that people interested in ththose fields would be helpful for them to attend. Also clubs that you can be involved in. So it really does a wonderful job at, I feel like almost like everything you could possibly need, all the resources are on that website. So that's a great resource.
Yeah, I think you've all hit on different resources that are good for different stages of your career development, which is awesome. We're down to our last couple questions. So again, if anyone has any questions that they're curious about, please throw them in the chat. But wanting to kind of just hit on this last point, I think you've all done a really good job of already talking about this, but why do you think it's important to engage early and often with career services? And we'll start with Leanne.
I think something like good to hold like to yourself is constant growth throughout life in general. And I think the Fleishman Center really like waters that plant. But I think like I was so unsure during undergrad, like if I was making the right decisions, things like that. And the Fleishman Center is there to like help you improve yourself, grow, and also to make you feel like more confident in your decisions, because you're not making there's no wrong decision, but they help you like figure out like, is this step going to get me closer to the goal that I see in my brain? And then there's also like every possible part of your like college experience, we have like resources that will help you through it. So why not make your life easier by like starting as early as possible?
Awesome. Jenny.
So I think it's really important to start early because oftentimes I think the hardest part about doing anything in general, not even like career exploration, is taking that first step. So when you're a freshman and you're not sure what you want to do, I think it's a lot easier for you to ask for help. And not that it's not okay to ask for help later on, but I think it's just easier to step in, start early so that you kind of get that out of the way, that the hardest first step. And then from there, you can really grow and just become more comfortable with the resources so that you're not learning about everything senior year. And then you might have a few regrets like, oh, I wish I found this out freshman year. So I think just starting early and seeing if the resources are helpful to you or if you like them, find out, go through all the different ones and just kind of narrow down to the ones that you like. Because I think there's just so many that we offer. It's impossible to go through all of them at once. So I think it's that kind of growth as you're going through your college career. There are certain resources that would be more helpful now than they were later. So I think that's why we should start early.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, I think just in like a really practical sense, I think the earlier you start, and all the experiences you get early on in your educational career, I think they are kind of weighed heavier because if you go to the Fleishman Center your freshman year, you work on your resume and your cover letter, it increases your chances of getting an internship the summer after your freshman year. And a lot of students may not have those experiences. So further down the line, it's going to have shown that you have had passion for whatever your field is this whole time for years now, and you've had all these experiences that other people don't. So kind of the earlier you start, the more it'll help you out further down the line.
Yeah, good point. Hannah.
Kind of like what Jenny was saying, I think it's important. I think it's important to stay up to date with the resources, the different scholarship opportunities, and just opportunities that the Fleishman Center offers, like the oh my goodness, I'm blanking. Lexi, what was it where you go on the trip to the Poconos for the career development?
Connections for Success for sophomores.
The Connections for Success. That was an amazing experience. But like you just said, it's for sophomores. So if I found out about it this year or last year, it would have been too late. But because I went in often enough, picked up the pamphlets, saw what was going on, and that goes for anything. That goes for the financial aid department, your department in the subjects that you're studying. Stay up to date and involved so you can be aware of all these opportunities.
Yeah, really good point. Maya.
I think everyone's brought up really excellent points. Fleishman is just an incredible resource, and we have it accessible to us while we're here for 4 years. And I just feel like, why not utilize it and start early? And every time, I think Leanne was touching on the confidence that comes out of using these resources and scheduling appointments. And I think, the more you can do that, the better for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate all those thoughts. And I think all of it's really going to resonate with parents and families and even students. And being able to say, okay, I see myself in Leanne, I see myself in Hannah, and being able to learn from that. I want to just ask one last question because I think it's really relevant and pertinent to where we're at now. How has COVID really impacted your career development? So whether it's an internship you didn't get to have or kind of planning for the future, does anyone have thoughts on that they'd want to or willing to share? James?
Yeah, I'll go. So the virus has impacted me. It cut my study abroad short. I think Maya too. And I had an internship for the summer, which then got canceled. But in the other sense, since everything was online, I was able to get some different experience that I otherwise wouldn't have. So through Binghamton, I took a Lean Six Sigma certification. So that's for engineering. I took some online classes over the summer. So even though it's impacted it, I've been able to kind of fill those gaps with some of the online resources from Binghamton and from Fleishman.
Awesome. Anybody else kind of thinking, for the summer? I think when this first started, we didn't anticipate how long maybe it would be impacting our students and our planning. So as you're thinking about summer, for some of you, you'll be graduating. What's the plan? What have you thought of? How has it impacted your next steps? Maybe Leanne looks like she's thinking. Yeah.
I think it has changed my mindset a little bit more about just looking into the future and obviously looking to see what my career will be. Of course, I have a certain idea, but I also still not 100% sure of what I want to do at all. So I think it's more just about being really, really open. I feel like I was pretty open-minded before, but it definitely made me even more open-minded if that was possible. And just allow yourself to adjust to any situation. And even though this is a really hard time, we've all adjusted to this point, and it kind of can show that we can adjust to anything that comes our way in the future. So just to go into the future with an open mind and be okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Hannah.
Yeah, so I had 2 dream internships of my life happening this year. And then COVID was like, maybe not. So, but one thing, and Fleishman Center also did help me realize this, but also just being involved in the school community also helped me realize this. There are so many opportunities out there that you will always find a way to rebound, to achieve the goal you want. It may not be the way you want to do it, but there's going to be a way to get there. So going forward with that, I don't know yet what I'm doing next summer, but I know that if I set my goal for, I want to learn this new skill before I go to grad school, then I'll know that there's a way to do it. And Fleishman Center has resources for that. Talking with professors can help you find resources for that, but knowing that there's always going to be a way to recover.
Yeah. Jenny.
So this summer, I was in the process of going through, I got the internship and I was going through the process of really securing it. And then that's when COVID really hit. So, and this was kind of early and I wasn't sure what to do, but I realized Fleishman really sent out a lot of emails encouraging students that there are so many other things you can do in this virtual space, that you don't have to go out or commute somewhere. And I think something big that I did was there's so many online resources, like online courses that you can take. And as someone in the health field, I kind of struggled to find things that are applicable for me. So I decided to switch gears and find things that I was just genuinely interested in. So I took a graphic design course that doesn't really relate to what I want to do, but it just seemed really fun. And I was like, there's no other time for me to, there will be, but what a perfect time to do this when I haven't been able to get that internship. I can do things and build skills and build hobbies that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to do because I would have been so busy running back and forth commuting. So I just kind of took courses that they were free. So that was great. And just took courses and like went on webinars that were just free and helped me kind of gain more skills, gain more knowledge in the field that I wanted to be in.
Yeah, awesome. And last but not least, Maya.
Yeah, I got really lucky this summer. I was able to do my internship. It was virtual. It was not, nearly the experience that it was going to be. Funding got cut, which was, we were supposed to get paid hourly minimum wage. So I was excited about that. And Fleishman was a big help. I got the Student Affairs Internship Fund, which really was a really big help. So I was really grateful for that. I just think I've been really lucky this summer. Everything really worked out for my friend as well. Unfortunately, her internship was canceled, but our summer camp is actually still happening, and she was able to be promoted to a head counselor position and was able to do sort of like a mini internship through a university. And I just feel like, everyone's adapting and just being open to all the opportunities that come around during this time.
Yeah, well, I want to thank, the five of you for being on this panel. And to our parents and family and friends that are here and listen to their experience and their stories. I think, they've individually shared their own experiences, but I think it resonates with probably a lot of different students on campus. And so we definitely would encourage you to have your students come in and meet with us. Probably out of the 5 students here, 4 work in our office, and one, Hannah, is a part of a JFEW Scholars Program for if you have any students that are interested in that. But we do encourage you to encourage your students to meet with us and engage as early and as often as possible, even if it's coming in and saying, I don't even know why I'm here. I just know that it's important. And we can go through lots of things. We love those conversations. So definitely want to encourage you to have your students come in and meet with us. I'm going to put my email address in the chat if you want to share that. I know that having someone specific to meet with can be less intimidating. So happy to connect your student with anyone on the panel. I'm happy to meet with them myself as well. I just want to thank you for coming and thank our students for being here on a Friday. So if there are any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or to email me. But that's going to be it for our panel. So thanks, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Okay, so, I guess see you on Monday.
See ya.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Lexi. Bye.
Thanks.